Disclaimer: this video contains disturbing themes, imagery, and real-life events that may be unsettling to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The following content is intended for mature audiences only and is created for educational and entertainment purposes. If you are sensitive to topics involving demonic possession or religious exorcism, please proceed with caution. Germany, 1973. A deeply religious 16-year-old girl has her first seizure. Doctors diagnose her with epilepsy and prescribe medication, but her condition gets worse. She starts seeing demonic faces. She hears voices telling her she's damned to hell. She can't stand near religious objects without becoming violent. Her family believes she's possessed by demons. Over the next 3 years, she undergoes 67 exorcisms. She stops eating, claiming the demons won't let her. On July 1, 1976, Anneliese Michel dies of starvation and dehydration, weighing just 68 pounds. She was 23 years old. This is the true story behind the exorcism of Emily Rose, and it's far more tragic and controversial than the movie. Because this wasn't a battle between good and evil. This was a young woman with a treatable medical condition who died because everyone around her chose faith over medicine. Hey everyone, welcome back, SiR.ReapeR here. The Exorcism of Emily Rose is one of the most disturbing horror films ever made because it's based on a real case. Anneliese Michel, but the movie left out the most important parts. The medical neglect, the trial that followed, and the question that still haunts people today: was she possessed by demons, or was she a mentally ill young woman failed by everyone who should have helped her? Let's break it down. Anneliese Michel was born on September 21, 1952, in Klingenberg, Bavaria, Germany. She grew up in a strict Catholic household. Her family was deeply religious, attending church regularly, praying together. Anneliese herself was devout. She went to Mass twice a week, said the rosary daily, and considered becoming a nun. By all accounts, she was a normal, happy teenager. Until 1968. At age 16, Anneliese experienced her first convulsion. She woke up in the middle of the night, her body rigid, unable to move or speak. It happened again. Her parents took her to a neurologist, who diagnosed her with temporal lobe epilepsy, a condition that causes seizures, memory loss, and sometimes visual and auditory hallucinations. She was prescribed medication, anticonvulsants, to control the seizures. For a while, it seemed to work. But by 1970, when Anneliese was 18, her condition worsened. She started experiencing disturbing symptoms beyond the seizures. She claimed to see demonic faces, grotesque visions that terrified her. She heard voices in her head telling her she was damned, that she would rot in hell, that she was worthless. She became intolerant of religious objects, crosses, holy water, and religious imagery would cause her to become violent or fall into fits. She stopped eating properly. She became suicidal. Despite taking her prescribed medications, nothing seemed to help. Here's where the tragedy really begins. Instead of seeking more intensive psychiatric help or adjusting her medical treatment, Anneliese's family started consulting priests. In their deeply religious worldview, her symptoms weren't medical, they were spiritual. She wasn't sick, she was possessed. In 1973, Anneliese began asking for an exorcism. She believed she was possessed by demons and that only the church could help her. The Catholic Church initially refused. Exorcisms require approval from bishops and are not granted lightly. But Anneliese and her family persisted. Finally, in 1975, the church granted permission for an exorcism. 2 priests were assigned, Father Arnold Renz and Pastor Ernst Alt. They would conduct 67 exorcism sessions over 10 months, between September 1975 and June 1976. These sessions were brutal and disturbing. During the exorcisms, Anneliese would scream, thrash, speak in different voices, claim to be possessed by multiple demons, including Lucifer, Judas, Nero, Cain, Hitler, and even a disgraced priest named Father F. The exorcisms were recorded on audio tapes. You can actually hear them online, and they're deeply disturbing. She growls, screams, speaks in what sounds like different voices and personalities. But here's the critical detail. During this time, Anneliese stopped taking her epilepsy medication. She refused food, claiming the demons wouldn't let her eat. She was convinced that suffering was her path to salvation, that God wanted her to endure this to atone for the sins of wayward priests and young people. Her parents and the priests didn't force her to eat or seek medical help. They believed the exorcism would save her. They were wrong. By June 1976, Anneliese Michel was skeletal. Her knees were ruptured from performing over 600 genuflections during exorcisms, religious bows where you kneel repeatedly. She was suffering from pneumonia. She was severely dehydrated. On July 1, 1976, after her 67th exorcism session, Anneliese Michel died in her sleep. She weighed 68 pounds. The official cause of death was malnutrition and dehydration. She had essentially starved to death, while her family and priests watched. The aftermath was explosive. Anneliese's body was exhumed and examined. Medical experts concluded that she died from starvation, and that if she had been hospitalized even 1 week before her death, she could have been saved. Her parents and the 2 priests were charged with negligent homicide. The trial became a media sensation in Germany, the first major public case involving an exorcism in decades. The prosecution argued that Anneliese had epilepsy and psychosis, both treatable conditions, and that her death was the result of medical neglect disguised as religious practice. The defense argued that Anneliese was genuinely possessed and that the exorcisms were necessary. In 1978, all 4 defendants were found guilty of negligent homicide. They received 6 months in jail, suspended 2-3 years probation. The judge acknowledged that they believed they were helping Anneliese, but ruled that they had a duty to seek medical intervention when her life was in danger. The Catholic Church faced enormous criticism and quietly distanced itself from the case. So what really happened to Anneliese Michel? The medical consensus is clear. She suffered from temporal lobe, epilepsy, and psychiatric conditions, including psychosis and possibly depression. Temporal lobe epilepsy can cause religious hallucinations, hearing voices, and personality changes. Combined with her extremely religious upbringing and environment, her symptoms were interpreted as demonic possession rather than neurological disease. The exorcisms, instead of helping, reinforced her delusions and prevented proper medical treatment. She died because everyone around her chose faith over medicine. But some people still believe she was genuinely possessed. They point to the audio recordings where she speaks in multiple voices, the physical phenomena witnessed during exorcisms, and the testimonies of those present. They argue that medicine couldn't explain everything she experienced. To this day, there are those who view Anneliese as a martyr who suffered to save others. The Exorcism of Emily Rose took this case and fictionalized it, turning it into a courtroom drama and horror film. The movie presents both sides, is it possession or mental illness, and leaves it ambiguous. But the real story isn't ambiguous. Anneliese Michel was a young woman with treatable medical conditions who was failed by her family, her church, and a system that should have protected her. She deserved psychiatric care, proper medication, and hospitalization. Instead, she got exorcisms and died of starvation. This case led to major changes in how the Catholic Church approaches exorcisms. Today, the Church requires extensive medical and psychiatric evaluation before any exorcism is approved. Anneliese Michel's death stands as a tragic reminder of what happens when religious belief overrides medical reality. So what do you think? Was Anneliese Michel possessed by demons, or was she a mentally ill young woman who needed help and didn't get it? Should her parents and the priests have been punished more harshly? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this case hit you as hard as it hit me, hit that like button, subscribe for more true stories behind horror films, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching. Rest in peace, Anneliese. You deserved so much better.